Tojo sir, 1 minute, huh? 1 minute.
Yeah. क्या हो गया?
Tojo, you are live.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is Tojo Banerjee from Business Development Head Office. I welcome you all for the today's webinar on the new risk management framework. Thank you all for joining this session. I hope you are aware that the new framework came in. There was a circular where it stated that from 1st of May, it will be starting. Now it has been postponed to 1st of June. This was a risk management framework which we are waiting for a quite long time, and we thank SEBI for accepting our proposals for reviewing the risk management framework. So today we have Mr. Vikram Kothari, Managing Director, NSE Clearing, and Huzefa and Aniket Bhanu from NCL. And also we have I have my colleague Sunil Gaure from BD team. The program will move like this: that post my talk, Vikram will give his views on the new margin framework, and after that, Aniket will take a presentation on the same. I hope with this presentation, every one of us will have a more clarity on what the thing is going to happen, what is going to change actually for us. And post this presentation, we will conduct a question and answer session, which will be moderated by me and my colleague Sunil. And we will try to answer maximum of the questions raised today. As you might be already aware in the webinar framework that on the right hand side, there is a ask question module where you have to put your query and you have to raise it and we will get the query. One small request on this, that today we are talking about the new risk management framework, and we would request you all to keep the queries related to this chapter only, because what has happened, we have the experts on this with us, so it will be more easy to revert back to your queries. I would not take any further time. I would pass it on to Vikram for his views. Vikram, please.
Thank you, Tojo. Thanks a lot. And please, members, hope all of you, your families, and your teams are keeping good health during these times of COVID. It is tough times for the market with the kind of volatility, and with now Amphan also hitting the West Bengal coast yesterday. I think it has been some tough times for the market. But I think this new risk management framework will be, once you go through the presentation with Aniket, you realize might bring some bit of good joy, as the framework is now going to get changed almost after 15 to 20 years of uh, being what it is today. Again, thank you once again for joining this webinar today for the revised risk management program framework, which is due to get rolled out on 1st of June. Uh, Thanks to SEBI, I think we need to appreciate SEBI out here, because when discussions on this margin framework actually started in SEBI, SEBI was very open to keeping this as a very consultative process. So, in fact, just to share with you, over the period of 1 year, this entire framework, which has finally got approved by the regulators, has been drawn through an extensive consultative process with various broker associations and the clearing corporation. In fact, NME, BBEF, CPI, all have been involved through various meetings that we used to have, various debates, arguments that we used to keep having. And I think the result was that what we see today is going to come out on 1st of June. One of the key mandates when this framework was being drawn up was that we as a group were mandated to strike a proper balance between volatility management as well as also keeping the portfolio risk approach in the built into the framework. So the broker associations also assisted in a big way to get international flavor as to how the risk management frameworks work globally onto the table, whereas the academic studies and the data crunching was left to the clearing corporations. With this, I think I will like to hand it over to Aniket Bhanu, who's going to take you through the presentation. And all of us will be there at the end of the presentation to take any questions that you may have in this respect. Thank you, Thierry. Thank you very much. Aniket, over to you.
Thank you, Vikram. So there were basically three objectives of this particular exercise of revising the risk management framework. The first of which was to retain and strengthen the coverage of the margins. The risk management system that we have today has worked well for over 20 years. It has withstood shocks of 2004, 2008, 9, and the recent COVID situation. So we did not want to dilute this risk management in any way. If at all, we wanted to strengthen it while addressing any deficiencies that this process might have. And the most important deficiency of this was that there were large notional components of margin through the short option minimum charge and the extreme loss margin. So we had adopted the SPAN framework, it was not really portfolio margining that we were doing in its true sense, because many of the times the notional margins would be in excess of portfolio margins. So we kind of rebalanced the margin framework so that it is more portfolio based and the notional components are very low. The third point was to achieve conservative and stable margins. So while they are conservative, they are stable also. We will not have a situation where the margins are very highly fluctuating. So if there is an event, margins suddenly shoot up or they drop suddenly when having a very short memory. So this what we in CCP language called procyclicality of margins. That is something that we wanted to avoid under the new framework. So how did we do this? Well, basically there are 5 points that we changed, but it has, while these are small, it may appear as parameters, small parameter changes, they have very profound impact, as you might see when we actually implement the system. First is the volatility calculation. So today we have the EWMA method for volatility. We will have EWMA going forward also, but the lambda factor from 0.94 will be changed to 0.995. The implication of this is that the volatility will have a longer memory. So today, effectively, if there are any stress events that are beyond 2 months or 3 months, the volatility estimate and consequently the margins don't have memory of that. So with the higher weightage to historical volatility, it has a substantially longer memory, and so margins will not go up very fast, and neither will they come down very fast. They will be stable. Because we are reducing the notional components of margin, and to make the margin stable, the margins instead of being based on a 3.5 sigma level, they are now at a 6 sigma level. Of course, because even the volatility is now more stable. It is no longer the 94 EWMA which used to shoot up very quickly. So although it looks to be a very big jump from 3.5 to 6, its impact is not really so much, because A, the volatility process is now more stable, and B, the notional components are reduced. So number 3 and 4 are actually the notional components which of the extreme loss margin and short option minimum charge. So short option minimum charge has been completely discontinued, and extreme loss margin is, well, there are in different products there are different changes, but approximately we can say that it is 50% of what it was today. Subsequently, we have also looked at the margins for basically the current exposure, the outstanding obligation. So today what happened was we used to bucket them differently and charge the margins on them differently. We looked at buy premium separately. We looked at futures crystallized mark to market separately, exercise assignment separately. So a client might have a receivable crystallized mark to market but payable premium. We charged the margin on payable premium while not considering the futures profit. So all of this we have clubbed into a single margin. So we will arrive at a single net figure at a client level. And whatever is net payable, or if the net is payable by the client, we will charge margin on that. As part of this, so today we were not charging margin on open position MTM. So wherever the positions are closed, 2 years ago we started charging ICMTM, intraday crystallized mark to market. Now, as part of this process, we'll also charge margin on the MTM on open positions. This will strengthen our margining system further. And finally, I would like to make a point that we have already started from this Monday giving the margin parameters files as well as actual margin files, MG12, MG13, etc. On extranet as parallel files. So from this Monday, that 18th onwards till 1st of June, when the system will actually go live, we are downloading end of day margin on a daily basis, and that will help people kind of understand what is going to be the impact of the new model on them. In some cases, margins can go up, and in some cases, margins can reduce. Typically, for unhedged naked positions, the margins are likely to go up. But for hedged positions where any naked exposure is, let's say, hedged with a covering long option, etc., so those kind of portfolios will have a lesser margin. So this is a simulation of what kind of changes have happened with stabler margins. So let's say that a stock is at the minimum level, and suddenly there's a volatile event that occurs. There's a 40% change in a day, and subsequently, frequently there are volatile events in the stock. So today, what happens is this margin shoots up from a floor to, let's say, 70%, around that, and then subsequently as stress events occur on a regular basis in this stock, the margins keep rapidly fluctuating. The memory of the fall process today is low, so it falls down quickly and rises up quickly. In the new margin, which is the orange line, the margins will not go up very fast. They will not come down very fast. They will remain more or less stable. And if the stress event were to completely go away, the new margin will decay back to the minimum level very fast, but the new margin will decay much slower. This example is very relevant now because, as we know, the March and start of April had been particularly volatile. So during that time, under the old margin framework, when we had a 30% Nifty fall, that kind of an event, the old margins shot up very suddenly. the new margins will also shoot up. Not that they will not shoot up, but they will not shoot up as much as the older margin. And now we are at a process, at a stage where last 15 days probably nothing much has happened. So the older margins are now lesser, whereas the new margins, as we can see in this chart, they are sticky. They don't forget stress events much quickly. In fact, now as we will see, the margins for naked positions under the new framework are higher. They are stable. They will decay very slowly. But suppose if another event were to occur, then they will not rise also. Under the older framework, had suppose something happened in June or July, then the margins would have dropped and they will again shoot up, resulting in a high margin. So instead, what in the new framework today we have a stable margin. If something were to happen, let's say in June, July again, the margins will not go up rapidly. They will stay at similar levels only. Having said that, if nothing happens, the older margin framework would drop the margin very rapidly. Under the new margins, it will stay at higher level and decay much lower as compared to the current margin framework. So we kind of illustrate this point with some sample portfolios here. So let's say we have a naked Nifty future. So these are couple of days old numbers, so quite recent. Assuming 9,000 as Nifty, the current margin is around 16.7%, which comes to 1,12,000 approximately for a lot. In the new margin, it will be 18.5%, so approximately 1.24 lakhs for one lot. So it's slightly higher by 12,000 per lot approximately under the new margin. But if we look at hedge portfolios, the second is an example of a put call parity arbitrage or conversion reversal as people know it. So today, because we have the short option minimum charge that gets levied on the short option, we have the 4.24% ELM which gets applied on both future as well as options. We have a very high margin for this kind of a perfectly hedged position. So for a conversion reversal kind of a position, today we have around 90,000 rupees for one position of Nifty. Whereas in the new framework, the margin for this kind of a position will be only about 27,000. In case of the third example is like a call spread. So basically it's only a long option position. We have bought in the money option and sold an out of the money option. So basically there is no possibility of loss in this kind of portfolio. Still, because there will be SOM and ELM in the current framework, we have around 62,000 as the loss, as the margin in the current framework, which will reduce to only 13,500 in the new framework. That also is because basically of the ELM that continues to be applicable on the short options. Finally, I